Today we're going to take you inside what many consider one of Portland's top suburbs, West Linn.
This is where you're going to find luxury hillside homes, some of the best schools in the state of Oregon, and it's all in a tight-knit community that feels worlds away, and yet you're only 20 minutes from downtown Portland.
So if you are looking to relocate and looking for one of the best suburbs for long-term lifestyle and investment, West Linn might be a top contender.
With limited homes and possibly competition, it's easy to overpay, so you want the right strategy when you're making the move to West Linn. We're Ann and Erica. We run the Portland Life channel, and we help dozens and dozens of people relocate to Portland every single year. So if you guys are looking to make that relocation here, we actually offer a free relocation guide. It's in the description below. Just grab the link, check it out.
All right, so in this video, we're going to break down what the amenities are that you can expect to find in West Linn, what makes West Linn so special, and give you a feel for what it feels like to drive the streets of West Linn.
And also just the amenities you can expect to have at your fingertips if you choose to live in West Linn. So Erica, let's take them on a driving tour.
Let's go, folks.
Hey, everybody. So we are taking you on a tour of the first community is Willamette. And we've done a video on this area before. You've probably seen it. We've actually touched on Willamette of West Linn a few times in our videos because it is a special little area. It has its own little community down here. You guys have called us about it. A lot of people love the idea of being able to walk to a bunch of restaurants and shops and boutiques and coffee shops. And this Willamette area has really come a long way over the years. It really has become like a little Americana. And as we kind of drive down the main drag here, the main road, Willamette Drive, you're going to kind of see what we're talking about. You can see freshly redone buildings.
They've really tried to make this a place that they want people to come. They do a lot of events here. It is, tons of free parking on the street.
Yep.
They want you here. They want you out with your neighbors. You want to come and hang out. Have your dinner at the garages, which we're about to pass up here. The garages is a great little food cart mecca. They've got outdoor seating and all sorts of options for even in the cold weather. Yeah, they've got the ale house and the cider house and lots of bars and restaurants. It's absolutely adorable.
Yeah, it's really one of those places that people want to be in. You can come here and walk in a flat. We talk a lot about how hilly Portland is. It's very flat here. And you've got all these different businesses in the downtown area. They're all thriving. We're coming up right now on the right-hand side to the garages. Like Eric had mentioned, it's an outdoor, indoor covered area where you can get something to eat. You can get a drink or a beverage. And that's really becoming popular here in Portland is all the food cart type of, areas where they kind of collect a bunch of different types of food carts that you can get food from. So we're going to take you a little bit around Willamette just so you guys can see what the housing's like. This was one of the oldest communities in all of West Linn. A lot of these homes were built at the turn of the century and they've since been renovated. When I was growing up, this was kind of a little bit run down because they were old homes and they needed a lot of work. And since then, it's kind of the hot spot. It's where a lot of people have renovated the houses and they've turned them into kind of what feels like the east side of Portland, the bungalows and the old Portland homes. And now they're just as charming as all get out. They're not on super big lots. These homes don't have like big lots, but they do a lot of times have like ADUs and you can kind of improve them from there. So there's just not a lot of like brand new in this area, but some builders have kind of inputted them throughout.
Yeah, there's some
so
good
a lot
infill here that like you saw back there where, maybe something wasn't able to be revived and they will just have a builder come through, build something new in there and, bring it back to life. So
yeah, so some of these just to kind of share with you guys, they do have a food pantry down here. They've got a sushi place. They have tons of eating establishments, Chinese food. They've got a saloon.
I do all your natural health needs as well, massage and acupuncture and just, anything that you can kind of think of.
It really is cool down here. The Cooperstown Grill's been here for a while. You can see people sitting out right now having lunch.
One of our local builders, who is based out of West Linn, built a massive new building down here and really kind of, sparked a great...
They have actually a few coffee shops. One I went to about a couple weeks ago across the street. So you've got a few options for coffee. So we're turning now to go towards Willamette Park. So one of the other main staples in this area, which makes it super special, right across the street, you can see Willamette Primary School. That's been there forever. So if you live in this community with kids, you can walk to the school. It's really, really close. But we're kind of heading down the hill here to where you're going to see Willamette Park. Now, they have a Westland Fair every summer. It just happened I want to say a month and a half ago, maybe a month ago. It's huge. Everybody's out and about. It's got, vendors. It almost feels like an elevated farmer's market of sorts, but they do it heavy down here in the Willamette Park area because they have an amphitheater. There's a lot of space for people to kind of in the community come together. But this is where they have a lot of kids sports throughout the year because there's a bunch of fields where they can play soccer, baseball. When I was growing up in West Linn, this is where my mom would drop me off and I would go play soccer. So this is still the case.
What's so cool about this is where the Willamette meets the Tualatin.
Yeah.
And you have, boat access. You can get on the river, do some paddle boarding, all of those outdoor water sports that you want to, they're this close. I mean,
Yeah.
you could walk this. It's super easy. So
Yeah, if you live in Willamette, you can
Yeah.
basically walk down here as often as you like. You can get in the river.
When it's hot enough, you can take your kids down. There's a playground over here. You can even rent this area for birthday parties and stuff. We did that for my nephew one year. They have bathrooms that are public. So what we're going to do is we're going to find a place to stop and just kind of show you around just a little bit.
So you can kind of take a little gander at what this Willamette Park is like, because that's a pretty big reason why people live here.
But we do have a video that is specific
Yes.
to Willamette. So if you
Go check it out.
want to dive into all things Willamette, definitely check out that video. And this just shows you how busy this park is all the time.
Yeah. They even have kayaking, you guys. So if you want to rent a kayak, as Erica mentioned, it's where the Willamette River meets the Tualatin River. So right up here on the left, you can see that there's a bunch of people that have parked and they're probably out on their canoes right now. So this park really offers a lot in the way of activities and nature. And that's one big thing when you're here in West Linn is people want things to do. And Willamette Park really has a lot of that as an option. So
We actually had some folks that we sold to just down the way. And this park was a big part of why they bought there. They've got a beautiful river view, and they were so excited that they could just walk down to the park and hike around and enjoy the beauty and nature of what the area has to offer.
that is actually what you guys do. You call us and you say, we want walkable. We want to be close to a park. We want to be able to walk our dogs, go to the parks with our kids, be close to amenities. And, in the suburbs, like West Linn, it's known as a bedroom community. And that's why we thought we'd do a driving tour today, because a lot of people are trying to figure out, what is so special about West Linn? Why is it named one of the most popular suburbs in all of Oregon? Well, this is why. If you live in the Willamette area, it's kind of its own little area out here in West Linn where it can give you a completely different feel than if you're up on top of the hill, which we will go to in a little bit.
But again, we're kind of heading back towards the downtown area.
And it's not a super big area. There's not a ton of housing in this area. So a lot of times people are like, oh, I want this kind of square footage, this type of house, yard. You're going to get what you're going to get right here in the downtown area if you choose to live in it. But it's really quite special.
There are some homes that have been kind of scraped towards the eastern side of the Willamette area. And those are being built. You're getting the bigger homes, the more traditional Willamette new construction type property. And those are, being built one-offs. You don't have a lot of big new construction areas in the Willamette area. And so you'll get onesies or twosies from homes that have been, torn down. They're rebuilding with something new and big and lovely. Because people love this area so much.
So across the street here, there are some houses that are obviously not, turn of the century. It's somewhat newer. And a lot of people are looking for lots in this area, and they don't really exist. But builders over the years have kind of found them and built them. So you'll see homes that look kind of old fashioned, but they're really built in the early 2000s. Here's one across the street that is listed by a builder that loves to build in this area, Icon Construction. And they either get the old houses and tear them down, build them, remodel them, or they try to divide off the lots to build something that works in this area. You will see a variety of housing styles. There will be duplexes,
Sometimes townhomes in this area because they try to build what they can.
All right, so we're just leaving the Willamette area and we're heading up the hill. So West Linn is kind of one big hill. Willamette being kind of
More of a lower level area right off the freeway. We always talk about or reference it as its own little community because it feels a little bit detached from the rest of West Linn.
It is kind of detached because it's south of 205. We're just going under the overpass of 205 right now. And it's like you're going to the north side or the rest of West Linn, as we generally like to say.
Yep. So we're sitting at a light right now, but up here to the right, we're going to go onto Salamo Road. And Salamo Road takes you all the way up to the top of West Linn. One of the very first communities we'll pop into is Barrington Heights, which is luxury on the hillside. And you will soon see why that is. Yeah. It's a premier neighborhood built in the 90s. We'll talk a little bit more about it once we go into the neighborhood. But as you can kind of tell, right here at the freeway exit up here to the left, it's called River Falls Plaza. And it's another area that has like Subway, a tanning salon. They actually have a Dutch Brothers in there.
Yeah, and a hardware store. So you can get all your needs taken care of, which is really nice as well.
You're right off the freeway exit right here in the Willamette area. This is called the 10th Street exit, by the way. It's one out of probably 2 or 3 exits that you're going to take off 205. There is a Stafford Road exit, which is also considered West Linn, heading into Wilsonville. That is one exit prior to the 10th Street exit. And then there's the other West Linn exit if you go a little further down the freeway towards like Oregon City. But here we're going up the hill. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about living on the hill. I grew up in West Linn. I think I've said that a million times in a lot of videos. It was all about the hill, what was on the hill. A lot of houses, you guys, in West Linn were built in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
That's the mainstay for the year built. There's a lot that's built in the 70s. I grew up here, so, our house was in the 70s. And there are some older homes for sure in West Linn because, West Linn was one of the communities that a lot of people, like my great-grandmother built a house in 1922 right on the Willamette River. So definitely there's older homes. But for the most part, the neighborhoods that are in West Linn are going to be built in the 80s and 90s. There's a few that are built in the 2000s that actually feel really new still. But we're going to be taking a right up here pretty quickly into Barrington Heights.
There's not a lot of new construction going on. As I mentioned, there's just not the land to do it on.
Yeah.
And so really, especially now, it's all, onesie choosies. Maybe I think there was a builder who recently did, a little bit larger number development, but it was minimal. And that's generally what you're going to find is you're going to find custom options where you have scraped something or had to tear something down. Near Willamette Park, that was just happening. So,
okay, now we're in Barrington Heights. So what is so interesting about this community is it is a luxury community. And when I was growing up, this was the place. The houses in here are all different. They're all basically built in the 90s. Some are built in the early 2000s. The average sales price in here is about $1 million to 1.2. And they go up from there too. Occasionally on the outskirts of this community, you will see something that's, below $1 million. But for the most part, you can tell these houses have been built to have their own kind of a stately feel. It's actually beautiful to drive through here because it seems like every house is completely different from the next, and they're on big lots.
Huge lots. I mean, some of these are like half acre to 3/4 of an acre, maybe even a little bit more, depending on what's going on with the lots. Lots of trees in here, lots of mature landscaping. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Now, there is a gated community within this community that is called La Chevalier. There's a person's house we just sold.
A lot of athletes would buy in here when I was growing up, from the Trailblazers or whatnot. And it's just a beautiful community where,
it's got an HOA. So if you don't like HOAs, you wouldn't like it in here. But it's why it keeps so pristine. But it really is lovely. It just feels like one of those neighborhoods that you just don't see this anymore. They don't really build neighborhoods like this where you actually have some space in between houses. The houses feel very regal. They're very well kept. A lot of traditional styles, you get a lot of brick accents. But for the most part, this is what people expected when I was growing up for luxury. This was a lot of Street of Dreams style homes. If you're not familiar with Street of Dreams here in the Portland area, it's basically gone on for decades where builders would go in and build the luxury of luxury homes. And you got to see firsthand going through the Street of Dreams, which is open for almost a month, where you can showcase these houses that were specialty built. I've seen so many of these houses actually growing up because I had friends that owned homes in here, but I also have shown a lot of houses and sold a lot of houses throughout the years in Barrington Heights. And it's funny because I remember when you could get a luxury home in here for like $600,000. In fact, in 2002, I sold a $650,000 house in here and I thought I made it. I was like, now that's a luxury sales price if I ever knew one. Now you can't touch anything in here. That's
sales price. No. It's almost comical. That's like almost a starter home.
But you can see these homes are just gorgeous.
The amount of space that you have between you and your neighbor, both side to side, front and back, I mean, it's just truly fantastic.
Yeah.
Something that you don't see anymore. What's also really cool is you've got all different styles.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a Mediterranean over here. I mean, you've got a lot of
salt blocks over here.
Exactly. I mean, obviously your craftsman, your traditional and stuff like that, but everybody's got a little bit of a stake here. Just gorgeous. And plus, you're on the hill, so you get some great views as well.
Yes. Now, something most realtors won't tell you about this area is depending on where you buy in Barrington Heights, you can actually get a little bit of freeway noise.
100%. We have, people don't like to admit it, but it is very true.
There's certain roads in this community where if you buy it, you'll actually, especially when it rains, sits up on top of a hill, but it looks over the 205. And for whatever reason, that just causes it to amplify in certain houses. So word to the wise, if you're going to buy in this area, or just call us and we'll help you.
Exactly. So we're going to head up towards what would be your shopping area du jour if you lived in the West Linn area on top of the hill. And it's got a lot of options for you. Obviously have your Starbucks, you've got your Safeway. It's just a quick hop up the road here.
Just how gorgeous is that? I think that's what I love about the West Linn area is it is so
lush with vegetation that you don't feel like you're,
tree-lined streets. You don't get that anymore. I think that's the thing that we have to point out is
when you buy new construction these days, you get no extras. The builders and the developers do not put
any extra thing in, it seems like, to really make a community feel like it's established. And you can see here tree-lined, lush landscaping, sidewalks. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy that we're pointing out sidewalks, but sidewalks are kind of a big deal. You're out of because
well, especially in a luxury community, we so often other areas, don't have sidewalks, and people love the area, but they also want a safe place to walk. And we just saw some kids crossing the street, which speaks to West Linn is a very family-oriented community.
Now, something we're going to share with you that maybe a lot of agents won't point out is that
West Linn, while special, and we're sharing with you a lot of positives about it today, the one thing that we can tell you is, and this is feedback we've gotten from people, and actually I just met with clients yesterday who live in West Linn, and they said they love the West Linn community, they love the West Linn schools, but there's not a lot to do in the sense and I said, explain that to me. And they said, well, when we had teenagers in the house, they're empty nesters, they said there was really no place for them to go hang out. There's no really close mall set up. They would actually, the Starbucks right here, there's a Starbucks. They said they literally would have their kids just hang out at the Starbucks. But they tried to get a community center voted into West Linn, similar to what Lake Oswego just put in that we've done videos on, is that aquatic center that just went in. They wanted one of those for West Linn. West Linn could really use a great community center that has the same kind of amenities in it. And unfortunately, it did not get passed. There wasn't really a space that they could designate to put one in. And they just were really adamant about, gosh, if West Linn could just get a community center, that would really add a place for the community and the kids effectively to go to. Okay, so we are driving into commercial area retail space on top of the hill. This is the only space on top of the hill in West Linn, you guys, where there's a grocery store, there's a few restaurants in here, there's a post office, there's a cleaners, there's an animal hospital. This is where you would go if you live on top of the hill in West Linn. That is probably the closest Safeway is the grocery store up here.
And I would say that is kind of something to keep in mind about West Linn, is that you kind of have designated grocery store. So if you're living down below off of the Highway 43 area, you're going to have a market of choice or a grocery store. There's just not a lot of options unless you're going other areas.
Yeah.
If we're going to say maybe negatives or cons against the West Linn area, that might be one of them.
Yeah, and just so you know, I grew up here and I always felt like I had to drive to get to places. When I was growing up, this particular shopping mall was not here. We had to go down the hill in West Linn to the only grocery store, which was called Zupan's at the time, which is actually still around in some areas. But this area actually has this now, which is nice. But when I was growing up, I had to drive to Clackamas Town Center Mall to go hang out and go shopping. There just isn't a ton of amenities in West Linn. It is just one big suburb. It is one big neighborhood built into multiple different neighborhoods. So it's a strong community with strong schools. Yeah. Everybody really is tight-knit here. However, there just isn't a lot of amenities. We've done videos on other communities like Sherwood or Tigard, and you have so much at your fingertips. You have multiple options for grocery stores. You have multiple options for family fun centers or
big box stores like Target and whatnot. But here in West Linn, you just don't have that. They don't have much of anything.
In a way, that's nice. It's quiet. People do like that it's, not filled full of a bunch of fast food chain restaurants or whatnot.
We do not have big box really in West Linn at all.
By the way, we're coming up on, this is Rosemont Ridge Middle School up here on the left. We're coming up on an intersection where we're converging with Rosemont Road. And you should know about Rosemont Road in West Linn because it's a main road that takes you actually from West Linn all the way to Lake Oswego.
But now we're kind of heading up into another neighborhood area of Westland known as
Hidden Springs Ranch. This area was a main neighborhood when I was growing up. It was definitely built in the 70s and 80s.
Yep.
And these homes definitely have
stood the test of time. In fact, Erica, you just sold one to one of our YouTube buyers.
Yeah, and they loved it for the fact that it was a very established neighborhood. Absolutely adored the, setting. It was all very established homes have been well maintained. That's what really sold them on the property. Plus, it was one level, so
Oh yeah, you guys call us all the time, and you're like, we want a one level. And the older neighborhoods do have some one level options that can work for you. And the good thing is a lot of them here in Westland have been lovingly maintained. They've kind of gone through the test of time, and while they're older, people have updated the systems or done some renovations here and there.
And the nice thing too is we drove by previously, but there's also some townhomes and condo options in the Westland area, both older and newer. So, there are housing for all price points.
You're not priced out of Westland. That's one thing we talk a lot about in our videos is, people always hear about Lake Oswego, but, it's kind of expensive to live in Lake Oswego. The average sales price is, well over $1 million. And what you do get for under $1 million may not be sufficient for you, or you find that the neighborhoods aren't really matching or in alignment with what you're hoping to find. Mm-hmm. But up here in Westland, you get so much more for the money, and the school districts are in a lot of ways comparable. I know Lake Oswego always gets the accolades for the best schools, but Westland is not too far behind it.
Well, and so often that's kind of one of those things where people who maybe can't afford Lake Oswego, they'll go to Westland because it's a little bit cheaper and you're still getting great schools, still getting great houses, and it's a little bit more budget friendly.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a right up here at the next street to show you what it looks like in Hidden Springs area. And I walked this street, you guys, all the time. I had so many friends that lived in this specific neighborhood called Sunburst.
This brings back a lot of memories just driving.
Going down Ann's memory lane here. So
everywhere in Westland is memory lane for me. Oh yeah, they have the tennis courts across the
Mm-hmm.
street.
I remember those are still there. That's cool. Is it pickleball still? Is it turned into pickleball? Nope, it's still tennis. Oh my gosh, there's a water tower, a big, ugly white water tower. You guys, when I was growing up and they put that thing in, people were furious. It is a monstrosity, unfortunately. I don't know why they just decided to put it right smack dab in the backyard of this poor community. But
and again, there's some great townhomes or duplex style attached.
There is an infamous house up here on the left, you guys. I'm gonna see if I can get it. See, it looks like something out of a Star Wars movie. That has been there for as long as I've been alive, and it's the Dome House. I think it's only been up for sale once or twice in its existence, but let me tell you, that house was weird when I was growing up, and it's weird now. But it's the only dome house I know of in Westland, so don't worry. There's not a whole bunch of them that you have to choose from. But we're still kind of driving through. This is Carriage Way, this street that we're on. My dad bought a house on Carriage Way back in the 90s, I want to say. We may drive by it, depending. But this area, this is like where all of my friends were. We walk up and down the street all the time.
And this is classic Westland.
Yeah.
A lot of just bigger homes that have been lovingly maintained.
Lots of trees.
Mm-hmm.
You get lots of trees. And you also have really great views. You can't see today because it's a bit overcast. And I think we have a little bit of haze from a fire in the southern Oregon coming in. But there is some amazing views of the valley from here, Mount Hood. A lot of these houses actually have incredible views from their vantage points. And that's one of the nice things about Westland is you get some crazy views from a lot of these houses up here. And maybe some of the best actually in the area. I know Northwest Portland's known to have really, really good views, but truthfully, Westland, that's a little inside secret. Let's go straight because I'm going to drive you guys past one of the houses I grew up in. This is wild. I don't remember the last time I've seen this house. It's right on the corner here. That white house with the black accents right on the corner, and it backs up to Alice Beniski Park, which I take my dog out there every day. This is where I lived, on this park. That was pretty special. All right, guys. Well, we're going to be heading out of this Hidden Springs Ranch. I think you guys got a pretty good taste for it. And we're going to be heading to the next place soon. All right. So we are driving downhill. So in Westland, you're either on the hill or you're on the bottom of the hill.
Well, I'm not sure if you saw that sign, 21% grade on this hill.
This hill was a hill you don't drive down when it's like snowing and icy.
This is no joke of a hill.
Okay. Can I tell you how many times I walked up this hill when I was growing up? You really got to have good brakes to go down this hill. It's a no-joke hill.
You don't want to speed.
You sure don't. But this hill was always closed during the ice storms. So that's the other thing to be aware of, you guys. Another inside informational is because you're on a hill, it's such a steep hill in West Linn, you are going to effectively be staying put when it's really, really icy and snowy outside. That's just what happens when you live on the hills here in the Portland area, specifically in West Linn. All right, so we are coming up on the base of the hill. This is Wilderness Drive that we're driving down on, but we're about ready to hit Highway 43. And we're gonna be taking a left on Highway 43, but right up here on the left, actually there's a whole like retail center down here. This is where we did our shopping. There was a Zupan's Marketplace right up here that I think
Is this the Walmart now?
I think it's the Walmart. Yeah. But this is where we did our grocery shopping. It was the only grocery. Well, there was one other grocery store in the area, but this was effectively the one that we went to. I think there's about 3 grocery stores total right now. Okay, we're gonna take a right here onto Cedar Oak Drive. This area, when I was growing up, this area abuts to Willamette, the Willamette River. So effectively, when you look at a map of West Linn, like we came from the Willamette area that has the Willamette River going around it, Cedar Oak goes up against that area. There's actually this is Old River Drive right here that we just crossed over. That actually is a great place to walk. You can walk right into Lake Oswego all on the river. It's a beautiful walk. I would do it all the time when I lived in West Linn after college for a moment in time, and it's a really great place. This is all fairly flat in here also, so you're not on the hill. You don't have to worry as much about weather conditions, or if you're a walker and you really want to get out and walk the streets and not have to hike it, this is a really good option for you.
And as you can see, they've gone through and they've done some road improvements, so you've got sidewalks now at minimum on one side of the road, but in some areas you've got them on both sides, which is fantastic.
Yeah, this is Cedar Oak Elementary School up here. This has been here for decades. This is your main elementary school in the area if you're in this specific area and you've got kiddos. But there's a lot of older homes in this area. There is not a lot of new. You've got probably a lot of 1950s and 60s homes mixed in with 70s and 80s. But a lot of homes have been renovated. There's a lot of bigger lot properties in this area, which is kind of nice if you're, kind of looking for a house that has more land. This area definitely has options. I've seen some beautifully remodeled one levels in here, guys. And you guys ask us about those in this area. People have 1/4 to 1/4 of an acre properties, and they've renovated their one levels. Now we're kind of heading down towards the Cedar Oak area where you can get out, and we're going to get out actually when we're down there, but it's a boat launch. It's a public boat launch that you can use if you are into the water sports. And so we'll kind of take you down here and show you around. All right, guys, we just pulled in here to effectively the boat launch area. There's lots of parking in here. People launch their boats and they go out into the river for the day. This is a great spot on the west side if you have boats, water activities that you want to do, and you can get out, put your boat in, park your car, and have a fun day of it. Okay, so we're stopping right now at the Cedar Oak boat launch just to show you right behind us. That is the Willamette, and this is the boat launch that is public for everyone. There's actually some people in the water. And the other thing, too, that we're going to try to show you a little bit is there's a little alcove where you can swim, paddleboard. It's not directly on the river, so you're not worried about boats.
Yeah. Great area. And
little beach.
This area, it's got great access, easy in. It's got lots of parking and 2 boat launches. With a dock in between. So really fantastic access for anybody who wants to come enjoy the river. So something to take note of is while we're standing here in West Linn, on the other side of the river, that's going to be Milwaukee. And if you head north down the river, that will take you right into Portland.
Okay, so we are driving on Highway 43 going south right now. But we want to talk about the parks because we're coming up here on the left to Mary S. Young Park.
Yes.
And Mary S. Young Park, I've been there a million times. It also has a lot of sports fields. That's where we also play soccer. It has a ton of walking, running trails, and it also goes up against the water. So
it's a huge park. It's 128 acres. So tons. I think there's, like 8 miles of trails and just lots of fantastic options to get out in nature. And as you can see, we have a ton of trees here. You feel like you are in nature. There's a little bit of trails back there, and you can bring your dogs here, which is fantastic. Now they do enforce a leash law. But, it's always nice when you've got areas that will accept all the family pets, not just the kids. So we like everybody to be, included in the fun. But you do have water access. You've got lots of sports fields, and just really so often we find people who want to get out in nature and walk. And some of these communities don't have, actual trails just dedicated to that. You're just walking around a neighborhood. And so in this situation, you can actually have walking trails.
Yeah.
You could probably bike on them as well. But for runners who want a safe area where they don't have to worry about cars, that's also very important. I know from, past experience that you want to have safe areas.
Yeah, when I was fresh out of college, I came down here because I rented a house in West Linn after college, and I would park my car here all the time, and I would go out and go for a run. And I loved it because I could just get kind of lost out here, but you're safe. You feel like it's a beautiful kind of nature picturesque location. There's lots of people around usually for different reasons. And actually, my roommate at the time had a dog. We came down here all the time to the dog park and it was cool because we got to meet a lot of people just because we had the dog. But yeah,
this is actually a really good place because they have so much natural habitat that it's fantastic for bird watching. It's actually a big, which is part of the reason they like you to keep your dogs on the leash so that we don't kind of discourage or scare off any of the natural habitat.
Now, just down here to the right, we're kind of showing you guys the parking. There is plenty of parking in this area.
Yeah.
But to the right, you're going to see a bunch. We can't really get out and show you too much unless we want to go for a hike. But there are public bathrooms down here, and there's gobs of trails, and it goes all the way down to the river. So if you're somebody that really likes to get out and go for walks, take your dog out, go for hikes, this is kind of a great little easy place to do that. You can see up here they have a kids kind of camp happening. So there's that kind of stuff going on. It's a great place for, families and kiddos to come down and, just really enjoy things. And here's the dog park area. Look at all the beautiful flowers. Oh my gosh. It's like a protected flower area over there. But this is the dog area where they've got little areas where you can kind of give your dog some water. There's tons of places to sit. But yeah, this place usually is full of dogs.
They did open this up. So if you're on the trails, you do need to keep them on leash. But in this area, you can let them off so that they can play, which is absolutely fantastic.
Right now, there's like a handful of dogs out there.
And what's really cool, too, is they've got interactive maps online. And then they also have lots of maps at the trailhead. So you're not going to get lost. You'll find your way out, I promise.
But that is one of the special reasons why people love living in West Linn is because we do have these great parks, and parks are a staple here in the Portland area. People actually buy houses based on where the parks are. As we showed you when we were driving up through Hidden Springs Ranch, they have the Alice Spaninsky Park. We've taken you to Willamette Park.
There's Tandler Creek Park. Willamettes.
Yeah, they're just peppered throughout the area. And that's kind of an important thing for a community to have is parks.
Well, I was going to say, it helps build the community. I mean, you can go meet your neighbors and, all share in the joy. The Mary S. Young also has a lot of volunteer days so that you can help partake in keeping the park nice. Because it is a beautiful park. And like I said, it's 128 acres. I mean, that's a lot of space to be able to enjoy. There is an upper parking lot here as well. If you want to, start your trail early. But yeah, parking is not a problem here.
Okay, so we're driving towards one of the other areas that we're going to showcase
we're heading south on Highway 43.
South on Highway 43, thank you, Erica.
Showcasing the next area of shopping that is important to know. But let's talk about the schools. So
one of the reasons why people love living in West Linn is when they have families, or even if they don't have families, they know that having good schools protects their property values. It keeps things going. West Linn has been known as being one of the best school districts in the state of Oregon. And they have a very strong community in that way. And they have a very strong athletics department. A lot of people who've gone through the West Linn athletics have gone on to be NFL players or basketball players, and they've always had a really strong sports teams. In fact, when I was there, they had really strong sports, and even when my son was in high school, we were always competing the strongest with West Linn. It seemed like they always had really good players. So they have a really good athletics, but they also just have really high ratings with all of their academics. And they have multiple elementary and middle schools, but they really only have one high school. West Linn High School also is combined with the West Linn Wilsonville School District. So it's kind of like the Tualatin Tigard School Districts being combined. It's the same with Westland, Wilsonville. So very, very strong community, strong school system.
Right up there with, like Lake Oswego. When you study academics, school districts, you're going to find that Westland is just one of the top ones.
Yeah. Something to keep in mind if you decide that Westland is a place that's going to be interesting, or at least you might want to live, is if you would be commuting on Highway 43.
Good point.
This is one lane each direction, and it gets very busy, very backed up, especially as you're heading towards 205 and that interchange. I mean, you could be backed up for a mile easily.
Yeah.
So just something to keep in mind. It does always move, but it's going to take you an extra 10, 15, maybe even 5 minutes, depending on how long the backup is. And it's not a great road.
No, they haven't updated these darn roads since I was here back in the heyday. That's one thing I've noticed about Westland is they just don't have a lot of potholes. Okay, so we need to get the community to get on top of this because there's a lot of roads that need some work. We're bouncing around all over the place.
And in fact, here's a good example. We're midday on a Thursday, and we're already hitting a little bit of traffic as we're heading out. We're not that far off 205, and so you start getting.
And by the way, as you see, we're sitting in traffic right now. It just stopped. We're not too far away from the 205 interchange. We're going to take a left up here into the Westland Central Village, which has the bunch of shopping we wanted to show you guys. But we're really close to the freeway access, and it tends to get backed up right here.
And as we turn in here, you'll see one of these great, fantastic places.
Rivermark Bank, sushi, crumble cookies, smart clips, orthodontics. They've got an urgent care. This was all not here when I was growing up, but this area across the way was. Yeah, so this is all the little shopping area we'll kind of drive through so you guys can kind of see what's available here. They've got a salon. That's been there since I was here. Massage area, a backyard bird shop.
California closets.
Of course, tanning. I guess we're going to need to get tan when you're living in Oregon because we don't have any sun. Well, that's not totally true, but it's kind of true. But don't tan. It's bad for your skin. They got a key bank down here. They've got a yoga studio. Okay, let's talk about Market of Choice. It's a great grocery store.
Yeah, they're kind of like fresh foods and bulk foods, all those kind of things. Really fantastic bakery. You're going to get a lot of excellent options at a place like Market of Choice.
Now, this is at the bottom of the hill. So the most convenient grocery store at the top of the hill is likely going to be Safeway, but maybe not, depending on where you sit on the top of the hill. So ahead of us, we've got a floral shop. We've got a vision center, another salon,
A kids salon.
a waxing if you need to get waxed, nail bar.
We got everything.
So if you guys are thinking about making a move to Portland or specifically Westland, reach out to us. All of our information is below, but also we have a free relocation
Guide if you're just kind of getting started in your search and you're just wanting to get some information on making a move here. In the future, we're going to be doing more relocation guides for you guys that are more specific to the areas. So if you're really looking to dive into, more information, we're going to be putting out a lot more content for you because you guys love that stuff and it really helps you identify, where you want to move to when you move here. A lot of realtors in the area, they may not be as familiar with some of these locations that we're showcasing you. And if you're really trying to identify, making that move, there's so many neighborhoods and communities,
We always feel like we're scratching the surface with sharing so much about these areas, but really our goal is that,
don't hesitate to reach out to us. A lot of times people think, oh, Ann and Eric are so busy or whatever. But the reality is we love what we do. This is what we do and we make time. So don't hesitate to reach out to us and let's find a time.
It's really important too to take the time to understand where you want to move.
Yeah.
We've talked to so many people that maybe we didn't work with that are coming through open houses and, possibly thinking about making another move because they realize what they thought they wanted really doesn't meet their needs. And so then they're getting up here, they're living for a year or two, and then they're realizing that they need to move again. And that kind of sucks.
Yeah. You don't want to make the wrong move when you come here. And it takes time sometimes to understand areas, or maybe you have to make a trip out here. We actually have a lot of people that don't ever come out and they buy sight unseen. And a lot of it is because they rely on the information they're getting from our videos or what they're finding online. This is why we do these videos, so you guys can really dive deep into research, because we know you're researchers and you want the information, which we understand. So don't hesitate to leave comments below even on areas that you'd like us to showcase, because we're trying to put out content for you guys. But
we already know that this area is fantastic, but we want to share it with you.
Yeah.
So if there is a specific area that you would like to know more about,
Yeah.
definitely leave a comment. Let us know.
well, and we also try to point out some of the negatives or things that you should be aware of, because let's be honest, West Linn, the video we're doing on today, is not for everyone.
Yeah.
It truly is a community that is great. A lot of people give really good feedback, but it's not for everybody. There's not, it's a bedroom community. There's no nightlife here. All right, so we are driving towards the Merrillhurst Road because we're going to take you guys up and over the hill again, but this time we're going to head out towards like Stafford area. We're still at the base of the hill right now in West Linn. If we were to go straight, we would actually run right into Lake Oswego pretty quickly up here, about less than a mile away. But we're going to take a left right at this light. And hopefully we can, because they're doing some construction here.
And that is something to know, is that during December, we have a lot of road construction because obviously it can't happen during the winter. And this is a good look at some of the neighborhoods right off of Highway 43. You get a lot of older homes, smaller footprint of home.
Yeah, we're in the Merrillhurst area right now, and there's a lot of older homes. And this is not your typical West Linn that people think about, because they're smaller homes typically. Some of these don't even have garages. That's how old they are. But as we head up the hill again, it's going to change. Once again, it's a steep road. We have lots of steep roads in West Linn. I used to go up and down this road, you guys, to get candy when I was growing up. There was a little mini mart down at the base of this hill, and they sold Laffy Taffy, and my siblings and I would truck up this steep hill. I mean, this is like Mount Everest. Feels like that. But back then, it was like the drive to have candy was bigger than the perspiration getting out.
We'll buy sugar. And we love our hairpin turns, so we know that like you're gonna want to make sure you have a good engine in your vehicle.
Oh yeah, and this is dense with trees. Now remember, we talk a lot about how much trees we have in the area, and West Linn is no exception. This area has a lot of trees. These houses right out to the right here have incredible views. I had friends that lived in one of these houses, and they have really amazing views out the valley. But these homes are mostly built in the 70s and 60s that we're coming up on. Pretty cool houses, really. A lot of people have renovated them. There was one up here that was for sale not too long ago that was completely renovated. It looks like a modern contemporary now, but it was contemporary back then. A lot of houses have bigger lots.
And again, something to think about is that we love twisty, turny roads. I mean, a straight road just doesn't jive with us, and it doesn't jive with hills, unfortunately. And that's why we have twisty, turny roads, is because you need to be able to get up these steep hills. Going straight just doesn't always work.
So let's talk a little bit about price points in West Linn. We talked about how it's much more affordable than Lake Oswego, your sister city next door. It's not super affordable, but you can get inventory anywhere from the 600s up to over $1 million. And I would say the average sales price is probably sitting right in the 800 to 900s on average in West Linn. And that's for a house that is probably 2,500 to 3,000 square feet, 2-car garage, 3 to 4 bedrooms. And every neighborhood in West Linn is very different and commands kind of a different sales price. So depending on where you're looking, we're going to take a left right here on Valley View Drive. We're kind of taking you through this area. I grew up in this area. These houses were built in the 70s. These houses go for around $1 million now, you guys. Big lots, about 1/3 of an acre, 1/2 an acre, pretty common. Lots of split levels, tri-levels, some ranches. This is your standard neighborhood here in the West Linn area. It's, again, a drive-through nostalgia for Ann Stewart, because these houses look so different. There's been a lot of renovations and changes, even on the exteriors of some of these houses. Okay, I'm shaking off the memory lane. I won't do that to you again. All right, so we're gonna take it right here on Valley View Drive, and we're gonna head out towards Stafford.
And as we mentioned, as you drive through these neighborhoods with us, you'll see the occasional new home. And that is just where somebody has opted to do a massive renovation, take down their current existing home to replace with something new. And that is really the biggest way that these newer homes come into fruition, or people over time will divide, if they're able to, their larger lots and sell those off. And again, like we said, you get the onesie twosie new construction homes that get fit into these older established neighborhoods. And it's a nice way to kind of sprinkle in that construction.
And then we're going to be going out towards Rosemont Road, which, as we mentioned earlier in the video, is one of the main artery roads.
Yeah.
And it takes you from West Linn to the Lake Oswego area. And there's a lot of kind of farm rural space between the Westland Lake Oswego area off Rosemont Road, and it runs into Lusher Farm. We've done videos on Lake Oswego where we talk about Lusher Farm.
Another one of those really fantastic parks where you can kind of do everything. They've got a dog park, sports fields, walking trails, kind of the whole 9 yards. So what's kind of cool about this area is that you feel very rural. Like we just passed a Christmas tree farm off on the left side of the car, and you can kind of come out here. You can get your cut Christmas tree. There's wineries up here. You've got a little bit of everything. You feel very removed from city, but you're still very close.
Yeah, it hasn't been overtaken by the subdivision sprawl. And there's actually a walking trail all the way down Rosemont Road. So kind of going back to like bringing in nature, community, even though this is a main road and there's still some farmlands here, you can park your car and you can walk this whole thing with a friend. And a lot of people do. In fact, this year's Street of Dreams, we just passed it. Too fast to get any video clip, but there was a Street of Dreams house that was just freshly done. And they just actually had a big showcase last night for the new Street of Dreams house. So there are some rural properties out here, some bigger homes on larger plots, but mostly these houses are protected. You can't really develop it. You can't build subdivision after subdivision. You might be able to get a plot of land on acreage or larger lot and build. One of the Street of Dreams is over here on the right on Witten Lane. Kind of see it from our video that we're taking, but we're really heading towards Lake Oswego as we speak. And up here on the left is the Lake Oswego Winery. We've done a client party there 1 year, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, you can see the walking trails just right alongside us as we're taking this video. So you can walk literally from Westland to Lake Oswego all the way down. It is pretty hilly though, so you want to be, mindful of that. If you're wanting to walk in a flat area, this is not it. But it's a great little jaunt to get, kind of all the way down and through to the next city. And maybe you have somebody pick you up and you can go grab a coffee.
Or if you're marathon training, great option to run. Yeah, if you're adventurous. But yeah, we're coming up on that cute red barn. We've showcased that in other videos, especially the Lake Oswego videos we've done.
It really is a staple just driving along here. And right up here on the right, you guys, we're coming up on Lusher Farm. And this is a community farm area. You can purchase an area where you could garden in. You do have to take care of it. It's absolutely beautiful. They've kept a lot of the older barn buildings from, decades and decades of being there. They have a dog park. We kind of showcase that area. And this is really a video about Westland. So we're kind of coming to the end of our video tour here, but we wanted to showcase this area because it is a big part of kind of merging from Westland to Lake Oswego.
We have helped many buyers navigate this exact move.
Yeah, so if you're trying to find a good family home, a luxury hillside option, or something that fits a little bit more of your lifestyle, reach out to us. Let's talk, because we've helped a lot of people navigate, especially right here in the Westland area.